Good morning, or good afternoon, or good evening, or good whatever time of the day or night it happens to be when you watch this video. My name is Jeff Rubin, and I'm going to be your instructor in this current events course here at MCAT. So, over the next 15 weeks, you and I are going to get to know each other a little better, maybe a lot better. I'm pretty excited about being able to bring this course to you. I've been a working journalist for the last 25 years, and you can probably tell that not a day of that was spent in broadcast journalism. Uh, I, I've spent most of my career in newspapers. I've worked as a reporter and an editor in newsrooms around the country, including the New York Times. When I wasn't working in newspapers, I did some things in education and publishing and even children's journalism. And when I wasn't doing any of that stuff, apropos of nothing, I was trying to write some pretty dark short stories. But we won't talk about those right now. What I want to talk about is this class and what you can reasonably expect from it over the next 15 weeks. It's my hope that when you're finished with this course, you will have gained, if nothing else, a deeper understanding and appreciation, not just of the news of the day, not just of the news, but of the news media. And I think this is really important because of the times we live in and the nature of the media landscape right now. I mean, it's changing fast. It's probably never been this fluid, this dynamic, and this frightening in the history of mankind. Every day, we all are bombarded by an ever expanding list of outlets bringing us an ever expanding database of information. And at the same time, the old time media, the traditional outlets like the ones I've worked for, are trying to devise a whole new bag of tricks to keep our attention and keep our advertising and keep themselves alive. What this all adds up to is a very complex and potentially very confusing media landscape. And I hope that what this course does for you is gives you some tools for making your way through that landscape, for looking at the news that you receive on a daily basis, not just as a string of names and dates, but as a whole bunch of other things. I want you to be able to look at the news for the quality of the sourcing, for the quality of the writing, for the agenda that may be driving the way it's presented to you. Every one of these outlets, new or old, you can think of it as a different colored filter on the events around the world. And once you see it that way, you gain an appreciation for how to piece all those things together, all those little takes on current events, so you get the most comprehensive and useful view of the world that you possibly can. I want to show you something real quick to show you exactly what I'm talking about. This is where I work now. Well, not Google. I wish I did. I'd be bringing this class to you from my Learjet. But right now I work for the Sarasota Herald Tribune. It's a pretty typical daily newspaper on the southwest coast of Florida, basking in the beauty of the Gulf of Mexico. And in many ways, it really typifies your local daily community newspaper coverage. We've got crime and crime coverage. On this particular day, we're calling people's attention to a big swim meet that's going on here and its impact on local tourism. We've got profiles and feature stories about the famed aerialist Nick Wallenda. He's the tightrope walker that, by the time you're hearing this, either did an amazing crossing at the Grand Canyon or fell into the Grand Canyon. But believe it or not, for many people, this local news coverage remains the main portal by which they experience the world around them. On the other hand, some people turn to another place where I worked previous to the Herald Tribune, the New York Times. And if you just do nothing else but look at the way the New York Times presents itself on the web, hopefully you immediately start to get a different sense of the information that's presented to you, a different expectation of what kind and quality of material is being presented to you, the reader. I mean, it's a much more sober, serious-looking website. Muted colors and national and international coverage, art reviews. Somewhere on here, I think there's some business coverage. It's all a lot more authoritative just on its face. And then there is an outlet that perhaps a lot of you get your news from as a primary source: Twitter. And believe it or not, I'm not judging that. Twitter has some shortcomings as a way to keep the world informed, and it has some real advantages over some of the more traditional media that we just looked at. We'll talk about those over these next several weeks. And then there's also this guy. Some people rely on Bill O'Reilly as their main source of news. I wouldn't want to run into him in a dark alley, but some people do. And we need to kind of look at that and see whether there's useful information to be gleaned here, and what kind of filter you need to put on yourself so that as you're sifting through information from a site like this, you can sort out the material and anticipate the agenda that perhaps drives it. And lastly, I'll show you one other site that I just am in love with. This is in Washington, D.C. It's the museum. It's the Museum of Journalism. And it's an amazing place. One of the great things about their website is that every day they scan through the front pages of newspapers, 645 newspapers in 55 countries on this particular Sunday. And, on a moment's notice, you can open this up and look at front pages in Tuscaloosa, in Arizona. See exactly what they think is the big news of the day. Or even Marysville, California. Anybody from Marysville here? The Appeal Democrat. It's very instructive when you can look at these front pages and make some comparisons and make some judgments about the differences, the distinctions that shape not just these front pages, but the world view of you, the reader. So that's going to be the focus of our course, and I hope you enjoy it. I hope we have a little fun along the way. And to get the ball rolling, let's move on to our first activity, and I will see you soon. Talk to you later, buds. Buds. All right, talk to you later, guys. I told you I'm not a broadcast journalist.